welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. So if you're listening to us on iTunes right now, please leave a 5-star review. Guys, I'm so excited to share with you new stand-up dates. I am touring, and nothing can stop me. Whee! Okay, so I'm coming to Morris Plains, New Jersey in a couple weeks, Saturday, May 14th. Tiff's Ale House, a.k.a. the Dojo of Comedy. Then I'm heading to St. Louis for the first time to Helium Comedy Club Wednesday, May 25th. Then I'll be in Illinois at the Vixen in MCHENRY. It's about an hour outside of Chicago, and that's going to be Friday, May 27th. Adding in more dates throughout the summer, so those we're working on now. Possibly Houston, possibly Orlando. But for sure, in the fall, I'll be headlining in Austin September 8th at Cap City Comedy Club, and then I'll be headed to Philly September 14th. That's a Wednesday at the Helium Comedy Club over there, too. Guys, my shirts are back for sale. A certain design was yanked off of TeePublic, and that certain design was rooting for Putin. So I yanked all my designs off TeePublic, and I'm in the process of getting them all on flagranttriggers.com. So head to flagranttriggers.com to get my classic Obama era style Mayr shirt, and of course the classic rootin' for Putin. It's very confuse your friends, piss off strangers who are just simping for Ukraine but don't know why. I don't know. I just think it's funny. I just love puns. $27 includes shipping, and they're super soft, so I've heard. Quick word from our sponsor. I'm so excited for this guest, by the way. I know I always say that, but I'm extra excited because this is extra topical right now. Yes, cue the music. Yeah, this sounds like an Asian massage parlor music. Maybe I'll have to get a different song. Guys, we all know someone who has made money from crypto. And you're probably thinking, I don't know anything about investing. I'm not smart. I was a psychology major. I'm an idiot. How can I get into this stuff? You can with Copy My Crypto. The Copy My Crypto membership site shows you the exact crypto that James McMahon personally holds and allows you to copy him. It's like having a big brother who knows what he's talking about and who won't punch you in the backyard. And then you're the one who gets in trouble and not your big brother, because he's the favorite. Let me tell you a little bit more about James. He runs the Crypto with James YouTube channel, which despite heavy censorship has over 15,000 subscribers and 1 million views. Since March of 2020, he's told his viewers to buy 26 crypto coins. Of the 26 coins, his topic of the year was a coin called Phantom, which since he started has gone up around 440 times, which is crazy. That one call alone has retired a number of people, including guys and girls in their 20s and 30s. Remember, this is all public knowledge. You can go to YouTube and verify this for yourself. So if this is sounding good to you and you'd like to join the 1,300 members who copy James, then stop what you're doing and head over to copymycrypto.com/Mayr. That's spelled Mayr. You'll not only find proof of everything I've just said, but my listeners get full access for just $1. That's like cheaper than a mozzarella stick from a gas station. You won't find this offer anywhere else, but act fast because this is a New Year offer and it will expire soon. That's copymycrypto.com/Mayr. Don't take this offer lightly. He's the real deal. Check it out, guys. Yeah. Making money from crypto. Okay. I'm so excited to have this lady on. She's a lawyer. I think she's like my second lawyer that I've had on the show. But my first lady lawyer. That's what we all love, being introduced as the lady version of whatever we do. Many of you are coming directly from her 9-hour stream, which she did not need a bathroom break before doing this show. So she's a fucking beast. I can't wait to talk to her. She's a lawyer. She's very fabulous on YouTube. I first heard of her actually through Rekieta Law. And I was like, I must have this woman. I must have her. Welcome to the show, Alita from Legal Bytes.
Hi. Welcome. That was very chill music. I feel so relaxed now.
I know. I'm ready to fall asleep. Girl, how do you do a 9-hour live stream and then be like, yep, and here I go into an hour-long interview?
Well, actually, I cut it short because lately it's been like 12 or almost yesterday was almost 13 hours of live streaming, and then I go and do a recap afterwards. So tonight I feel or tonight, I don't know, tonight, I don't know what time it is. I'm on a radically different time zone too. So but like my body just doesn't really know what's day or night anymore. But but
Your body is
basically
confused. All it knows is the law.
all
Yeah.
it knows is the law and Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, and the things that are going on in this case.
I know. This is quick. Look at this. Look at your YouTube channel. These, how long? These are about all, look, 12-hour stream yesterday, 19-hour stream the day before. Is that the
Or
longest you've gone? Is 19
11 or
hours?
12. Yeah.
11
Yeah,
or
cuz
12.
the thing is that the
Oh,
live
19
you
hours
can
ago.
go live for longer than 12 hours, but around 12 hours is when YouTube limits it for replays. So anybody that wants to come back and watch the whole thing, it'll get cut off around 12 hours. I found that out this week. I never needed to know that before yesterday or the day before.
I did not know that either until I got a bunch of my friends together and we did a 48-hour live stream in the
Oh my
Poconos and didn't think we'd be able to physically do that, but we did it. And yeah, YouTube, I think, cut us off after whatever it was, 10 or 12 hours.
Oh my
So,
gosh. Yeah.
um, but this is
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah, I was going to start with your origin story, but they're coming like right hot off this coverage. So this trial with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard has been going on for what, 2 weeks now? 3
It's been
weeks?
actually we just finished 3 weeks. So
Is
it's a 6-week trial. We're halfway through now.
this typical for a celebrity? Is it the celebrity aspect that makes this so long, or is it like what they're
I
like
think it's
dealing
the
with?
I guess just the claims that are alleged. I mean, Amber had alleged. Well, it started off 4 incidents of domestic violence that just somehow expanded over the last few years to 14. So when
Oh
she's
wow.
alleging that, Johnny then needs to be able to rebut all of those claims. So there's a lot of. I mean, you've got to talk to not just him and her, but other people that were around for these incidents. Then there's also like experts that you're going to talk to. The all of the doctors that were treating them for various things here and there. Yeah, a
Wow.
lot of detail.
I thought this all started when Amber Heard wrote this long, was it an op-ed or an article or something in the Washington Post where she all but named, like called Johnny Depp by name. She just was basically alluded to a very abusive relationship and what did she say? Like, oh, it happened to be with an actor from a famous pirate movie, although I won't say what,
It wasn't quite that detailed, but basically she said, 2 years ago, my name was like put out there, and it was, I was a survivor of domestic violence because of something that happened to me 2 years ago. There's a callback to 2016. In 2016 is when she filed for a domestic violence restraining order, and she filed for divorce from him, and it was all over the news.
Okay, so they were married. Okay. I was like, are
Hmm.
they just domestic partners? What's going on here?
I was confused at first too because he was with Vanessa Paradis for a long, long time. They have 2 children together, but they never got married. So I remember being confused at first too.
Mm.
And on top of that, Johnny and Amber were only married for like 15 months or something, like just over a year. Which is just wild, right? That you have like a marriage that lasted shorter than the amount of time that they've been suing each other at this point. Way shorter.
Oh man. Oh my god. That's like nothing. I mean, like now that I'm at a point where I've been in a relationship like 7.5 years, like to 15 months is like we were just still figuring out like how to make each other sandwiches. I don't know. I guess
Yeah,
we've
I mean
moved.
they did date a bit longer than that. I think it was like 4 or 5 years or something before that because they met on the set of Rum Diary, which I think, if I remember correctly, was
Oh.
2010 or 2012. So they had been together for a few years before they got married. Was my understanding.
Oof. Okay. So I thought that this lawsuit was, well, this the trial was about Johnny Depp being like, "Hey, you basically like screwed my whole name up, and I haven't been able to get work.
Several statements in the op-ed, and they list out the specifics. One of them is the title of the op-ed, which it looks like she didn't actually write the title, which is pretty common for a lot of these editorialized, kind of things, even though it's an op-ed that is ostensibly written by her. But there's two other statements in the op-ed that they have at issue. One of them is like there's one in particular that is the strongest, I think. But basically, they've got to show, like, I'll just kind of generally talk about the elements of defamation. They've got to show that she lied about him to a third party, the whole world, and that that he suffered reputational harm from that, and that harm was caused by the op-ed and not by something else. And on top of that, because he's a public figure, he has to show that the lie that Amber told, that she lied not just negligently but with actual malice, which is kind of a confusing term because people think that it's like, being malicious. It's not exactly that. Actual malice means that somebody lied either knowing that what they were saying was false, or lying in reckless disregard of the truth or the falsity of the statement. So, but somebody who's going out and saying, I was domestically abused by my partner, is one of those that she would probably know whether or not she was. That in this particular case does get a little bit more nuanced because we're kind of grappling with the definition of domestic violence. Is it just physical, or is it also emotional and verbal? And if so, where is that line? It's not a domestic violence case. Like we're not, looking at the elements of a domestic violence kind of claim against Johnny Depp or against Amber Heard. So it's kind of like a soft sort of case that you have to look at this underneath the defamation claim, is like whether or not domestic violence happens. So it can get a little bit confusing as to like what's going to happen here because of that definition.
What is the absolute worst that could happen to Johnny, and what is the absolute worst that could happen to Amber?
The worst that could happen to Johnny, you mean in terms of like evidence that comes out, or like the result of the case?
I guess both. I mean, his career's already shot, it seems, but I don't know. He's just so charming. I'm concerned.
Yeah. No, his career has definitely been shot because of it. The worst thing that can come is, I mean, so bringing the case, he probably has two tiered goals, really. You've got the number one goal that is, well, and I'm not sure which one is more important to him. I would suspect it's actually the court of public opinion, because we talk about this a lot on my channel, especially when it comes to these celebrity lawsuits. There's the court of public opinion and there's the court of law. And sometimes those merge, and sometimes those two can create competing interests for somebody that's involved in one of these lawsuits, right? So when you have certain messaging or certain filings, sometimes you can read through a complaint that's filed, and it'll kind of feel a little bit more like a PR statement than an actual lawsuit, and then you realize, oh, this is actually a little bit more of a statement to the press, to the public. There's a lot of that in the Alec Baldwin Rust shooting, for example. I've talked about that one quite a bit as well.
Oh my gosh, yes, because and just what we've learned from the last few years, like media can shape public perception of an event, and it's completely false, and it doesn't matter. It's almost like once a certain amount of time has gone by and a certain narrative has been pushed, it like you could be served up the truth, and a fair amount of people will be like, no, I think I understand what happened,
Yeah. I mean, we saw that with the Rittenhouse case. We're seeing this right now with the Johnny Depp case too, because so that's why, like, that's one of his big goals right now, is to get his message out to the public, because the media has been very, very strong in basically trying to drag him through the mud and portraying Amber as a victim or a survivor of domestic violence for one reason or another. You can have all kinds of different reasonings that you believe, if you want to be more jaded or less jaded, there's all kinds of reasons why you could think of that. But his main goal is probably the court of public opinion, getting his story out there, getting his message out there, and having people believe him and understand him. And then the second one is actually winning the lawsuit. So at this point, he has already taken the stand. He spent 3 or 4 days in direct examination, cross-examination, and then redirect. And I thought he did a phenomenal job. I really think that he did a great job of getting his story out there, and he proved to be a very credible, believable witness. And all of that being bolstered so far by the evidence that has come out from his side, from his case in chief, has been very supportive. Now we're at the halfway point. We're still going to have to hear from Amber Heard's side, and that may, bring down that analysis a little bit. That maybe it kind of evens things up a bit more between him and her. But we'll evaluate that as that evidence comes out. So
Okay. And what is I guess the sort of worst case scenario for Amber?
I mean, right now, it's my opinion that this trial is so far going in favor of Johnny. So worst case scenario for Amber is she is found out to be an unstable, abusive person who not only emotionally but also physically abuses her partners, and also has been propped up and become a charlatan for the Me Too movement and for the ACLU, all for her personal gain, and then loses everything. That's kind of
Yeah.
it's kind of a bad worst case scenario for her.
And it's so good that people like you are covering this, because it's so many hours. The average person doesn't have the bandwidth to watch and understand. And even if you were able to watch the whole thing, you're like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
This side seems mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and especially I can understand like people that aren't familiar with the judicial process, or even we've gotten a lot of messages from people who are lawyers, but they're from, Brazil or the Netherlands or other places that are very interested in this case. And they're like, I don't quite understand the jury system because we don't have that where we are. Like how does this even work? So it's been a really fun time getting to sort of like share what we know, because it's not just me. I have a bunch of awesome lawyers that are joining me on this panel, and other people too from other areas of expertise. Like we've got Nurse Liz talking about a lot of the medical stuff. That's been really helpful. We've also got Spidey from the behavioral arts, who's a behavioral analyst, just to talk about body language and different
Oh,
things that
that's
you can read. It's
cool.
really, really fun, especially because it's like one of the things that really intrigues me the most about this stuff is that the attorneys and the parties, they can't really communicate directly with the jury except for a few small opportunities. The parties, they can when they take the witness stand. They're able to talk to the jury, tell them their case. But other than that, they're just sitting there silently, trying not to look like they have too bad of an RBF, and trying not
What's
to
an
turn them off.
RBF? Is that like an
Resting bitch,
RBI? Oh.
resting bitch face.
Oh, resting bitch face. Of course.
Yeah. So
Well, Amber, I feel like has failed miserably at that already.
she has made quite a few faces that have been very interesting. And it's like on the one hand, we're all watching and analyzing on and all that stuff. And a lot of it can look quite fake and quite, put on. They are both actors, by the way, of course, as we all know very well.
Ah.
So there's also, that possibility. But sitting for 10 or 12 hours a day, it's hard to keep putting on faces or putting on demeanors for that long. I don't know if either of them consider themselves method actors, but that's hard, right? But I also try to keep in mind that this is also a particularly stressful situation for both of them. They both are fully aware that they're under a microscope, in front of cameras and all kinds of people around the world. So things can look a little bit different. People also react to stress differently sometimes. So I try to keep that in mind, but it's really hard. It's really hard not to look at the faces that she's making and say like, I'm seeing some things here that are a little off.
How important is a first impression to a jury? Or do you think that obviously it's comprised of just like regular people, not like necessarily law people, but at
Yeah.
what point do you feel like a jury typically makes up their mind?
We were
Or
actually talking about this this morning on my channel. Peter from Lawyer, he said that he had come across some studies that apparently uh, an almost alarming number of people make actually a very early determination as to who they want to side with, in a particular case. I think he said specifically, even or especially in civil cases, he said sometimes as early as the opening statements, which is kind of terrifying because in any kind of a trial, you start with the opening statements where you get the lawyers getting up there and saying this is what the evidence will show. They're making all these promises about what they're going to see throughout this trial. They're going to give them a roadmap, a basic framework, so that they can understand and filter through all of this evidence and put it in the proper compartments in their brain. But there's no evidence in the opening statement. Like, they're just giving them promises. So the fact that a large number of jurors will actually make a conclusion from the opening statement is a little bit scary because there's no evidence involved there. It's just, like I said, it's just promises.
It's like a first date when they say, like, a woman decides in the first 30 seconds if she's going to sleep with the guy or not. It's basically the same applies to a trial.
Yeah.
Everyone's women are sitting there. Yep, I would sleep with Johnny Depp. Yep, sign me up. Yeah.
But at the same time, though, I can also see those situations where you go on a date with a guy, you don't really know him, but you know that he's very attractive, and then as soon as he opens his mouth, you're like, oh no.
Like, oh, that's too bad. Yeah.
So there's always that possibility. So you can also have a slow decline for some people too. But it's a first impression, I think, is very important. And but also jurors have a lot of time to sit and watch, and they can start to detect when things sort of change in a person. So having consistency is always generally a good thing for both parties.
Oh, okay. I want to talk about what is generally a good let's talk about the fashion element here.
Yes.
What is generally a good, and I'm sure both of them are being coached on what to wear, but like, what
Absolutely.
is generally a good look for going into a trial? And is there like a baseline rule for men and women, or does it depend on what one is fighting for or being accused of?
It 100% depends. I mean, there to a certain extent, right? I mean, generally speaking, you want people to be dressed like properly for court, right? You don't want somebody coming in wearing booty shorts and and a crop top. But you would prefer somebody to come in looking relatively put together, like they're not a mess, but maybe more conservative than you might otherwise expect. But it also really depends on what's going on in the case, who these people are, because a lot of that is also trying to connect with the jury. Because like I said, they don't really have too many opportunities to actually talk to them. So there are several ways that they can subtly communicate with them through their facial expressions or through their clothes. So with these two in particular, they're Hollywood, right? And we're in Fairfax, Virginia, which is not exactly a small town. It's just outside of DC. So, being used to there being high profile people maybe in the neighborhood is one thing, but people might have a lot of biases against Hollywood. So having these people come in and try to present themselves in a way that is relatable, but doesn't seem fake relatable. Amber has a different calculus than Johnny because Johnny is a superstar. Who doesn't know who Johnny Depp is, right? So there's a certain calculus for Johnny that's different because everybody kind of knows he's a little bit eccentric. He can get away with all the rings on his fingers, and wearing his tinted glasses that kind of look like he's wearing sunglasses, and his long hair and whatnot, because it's like, he's an actor, he's a rock star, he's been around for a long time, and people know that he's a quirky guy, he's eccentric.
Nobody's gonna be like, Johnny, you have to get a haircut for this. Sorry.
Yeah. Like it would be weird if he came in like with a buzz cut and just completely, tied up,
Yes. You'd be like, did something happen? Like if he came in with a very close crop, you'd be like, oh, is he okay?
Yeah, exactly. But with Amber, it's a different calculus because you might just kind of look at her as more general Hollywood rather than a superstar. And that's not to be a knock on Amber Heard, but it's also been a common refrain with a lot of these witnesses. Like the police that responded to one of these incidents they were like, we didn't know who Amber Heard was. We saw her. We didn't know who she was, and we didn't know Johnny Depp was involved because he wasn't there. So it's one of those things that's like, it's kind of funny because you're like, oh, this is somebody who seems to really care about people knowing who she is. But it's not exactly working out, it seems. But
what an insult to just have people saying over and over, we never heard of you. We didn't know who you were.
yeah, seriously. But it's
so hair back, always hair back.
I mean,
Yeah, she can't do a blowout, I guess.
it could be down. It could be down for sure, but she's had some hairstyles that are like very kind of like ornate, you know, like these very beautiful braids and updos and stuff, but they very much look like she's got a stylist doing them. It does not look like, if there are people that are, you know, that are blue collar on the jury, that's not exactly very relatable to them. Um, you know, even middle class might look like, I might get my hair done like that for a wedding or for, you know, some special event, but and maybe this is a special thing for her because obviously it's a very important you know, series of days for her.
It
But
is an event. Yeah.
it is, it is. But it's yeah, it is one of those things that I've very much worried about on her behalf, is that she could be alienating people by looking a little bit too Hollywood.
Too fancy. Yes. I was looking for this double braid look.
Hmm.
Yeah, she had the double braids wrapped around in this like the swoop, this sort of
Yes.
S swoop.
Yeah, and it's
Uh,
beautiful. It's beautiful
yeah.
otherwise, but it's not exactly something that I would recommend for court. I generally would recommend something a little bit simpler. And she's gotten better and better as the trial has gone on. I feel like she's finally gotten to a place where she looks pretty decent. But there was one of her early on looks was I basically said she was Dr. Elsa Schneider from Indiana Jones. I mean, she looks just like her with like the braid and a very very German looking
Yes.
you know, kind of like, it was like a very militaristic kind of
Very
like buttons and
Helga.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this was like today, it was like falling out. It was like done. It was like, it was a
Yeah.
little messier today. I guess as
Yeah.
the case goes on, she might look more
And the
banged
other
up.
thing and the other thing about her clothes too that's been getting a lot of attention is the fact that she looks like she's copying Johnny's look.
I've
It's
heard
like
that.
he shows up to court with one look one day, and then the next day she's like, generally speaking, copied something of his. It seems like in the last couple days that has generally stopped, but it was like, especially at the very beginning. I mean, the first day he had a black tie with a B on it. The next day she literally wore exactly that.
Is this trolling? I mean, could that be getting in his head or something?
That's what people are saying, that maybe it's to get into his head, but the problem with that is if the jury notices that, they're going to catch, you know, it's going to draw their attention too, and they're going to have a lot of questions about that. And especially when we're talking about some of these other diagnoses that have come up for Amber. We had an expert that diagnosed her with borderline personality disorder and histrionic personality disorder, and you know, the mirroring thing was not exactly something that was a highlight on that day, but it sounded like something that maybe somebody with BPD could potentially do, is to you know, mirror someone like that, and to follow their
Wow.
wardrobe like that. So it just it was not a particularly good idea in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, what are the odds? Oh, I also have a tie with a B on it. That's crazy. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
So, okay, interesting. So Johnny looks a little bit better. He's higher points in terms of fashion so far.
Yeah, and his, I mean, in the beginning, him with the hair down was a little bit. It was a little bit more of a shaggy look. I didn't quite prefer that. If I could have given counsel on that one, I would have asked him to have it back from the beginning. The ponytail has been
Mm.
great ever since he got into that look, and his suits have been fitting nicely. He's been looking great. So and he's been relatively consistent too. That's why there's been less talk about what he's wearing than what Amber's wearing. It's not a sexism thing. It's literally just she gives us more material to talk about.
You have to pick a look and you have to stick with it. And our advice to Amber Heard would be like, just do your own hair, girl. Drop your stylist. Tell her to go home. You know, just
Yeah.
throw it up in a messy bun that says I'm desperate here. Okay,
Yeah.
couple super chats from Blade 2.0. Never expected this crossover. So hype. I'm so
Yeah.
hype too.
Yeah, well,
The
I've been
Uber.
following you for a while. I remember there was one point that I was like, I would love to get on Chrissy Mayr's
Oh
podcast
my
sometime. That would be really cool.
god. Oh my
So yeah,
god, it
I was really thrilled when you reached
happened.
out.
We made it happen. The Uber Geek says, "Congrats on the success, LB. Though you
Thank
realize
you.
Nick Rekeita will start a war for your viewers, right? Hashtag
No.
Amber Tord. Hashtag
No.
Justice for Johnny."
No, there's nothing but love between me and Nick and everybody else in LawTube. It's a very supportive group. I know that it's like because we're both streaming the trial at the same time. There have been comments in my chat and I would imagine in his chat too about like, oh, are you guys fighting? Are you guys like on
Dueling
the outs with
lawyers.
each other? No, like we both had an interest in this case and wanted to stream it. So it's been great, at least on my end. And I think he's been having a good time doing it over there too.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have heard of you if it weren't for his Rittenhouse streams. And did you
Yeah.
do your own too, or did I just see you from doing his streams?
No, yeah, I was on his from I think it was like day 2 of the trial. That was when I first showed up on his channel because and it was such an informal thing too that like I mean, we often do crossovers in LawTube. Like we're just kind of like jumping into each other's,
You
live
said
streams and stuff all the
LawTube?
time. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
so cute.
Yeah. That's our general name
I'm
for it now.
imagining like when I used to go to the bank with my mom when I was little, I don't know if they still have these. It's just like you get a tube comes down like
Oh
a
yeah.
shh, you drive
To
up
put
in
your
your
check in.
car and then you put a check in and it goes you watch it blow away. And I'm just imagining that's happening but with like law books and law words.
Yeah,
Law
yeah.
words.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we, before the Rittenhouse trial, a bunch of us would, show up on each other's live streams and stuff and chat about the law and all kinds of different cases and stuff. So he just kind of started to have a couple other people on his channel for that trial. And I remember I was in the chat and I just invited myself. I was like, Nick, I want to be on tomorrow. And he's like, okay. And then from there, it just kind of grew because um well, I got hooked on that trial very early on because I was like, this is crazy and fascinating. And then everybody else just sort of slowly started to jump in too. And it became the trial that it was for Nick's channel. And it was great. It was wonderful. We all had a fantastic time doing it.
How long did the Rittenhouse trial last?
I think it was like 2 weeks. It felt like a long
Oh,
time,
wow.
but
It
now,
felt longer. Wow.
yeah, I think it was 2 weeks. Maybe it was longer. Maybe it was three. But now it's funny because like when I saw that the Johnny Depp trial was going to be 6 weeks, I was like,
You're like,
I really want to do this. Well, I was like, I really
yeah.
want to do this, but do I want to commit to 6 weeks? That's a lot to commit to for that amount of streaming every day. But yeah, I
Yeah,
was I was basically second chair pretty much every
that's
day.
that's a
So it was
band
fun.
reference. Yeah. That's awesome, and I liked hearing you describe, like, how you picked your team, almost like, you're calling in the Avengers, like, how you pick I need a body language person, I need a medical person,
I
I
mean,
need a
it kind of
fellow
just
I need a toxic blonde to come in and translate. Yeah.
no, I mean, it kind of just it kind of just worked out that way. I mean, I always start off by just inviting everybody. We have like a general DM thread
Do you
that
have
we
a group
have
chat?
with all of
Oh!
LawTube. Yeah, heck yeah. It's just a lot easier because you can we I mean we'll talk about our content. We'll talk about laws and we'll throw ideas around and stuff. And then if somebody is live streaming something and wants everybody to jump on, we'll toss in the link and say like, hey, come on over. So we've done that for some other stuff too, like Jussie Smollett when he there was his sentencing hearing was made public. So Nate the lawyer had that on his channel and invited us all over. So we'll all just kind of jump in and shoot the shit together and talk about what we're seeing and about the laws and stuff. So
Wow, your community sounds so not toxic. So the opposite of like say comedy or music or acting. Like you all are friends and inclusive of each other. That's
I mean,
cool.
we try to be, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it honestly, and it's funny because like, working and having worked in several different law firms in the past, I've had different kinds of experiences for what a law firm experience can be. Some were fantastic and actually felt like family. Others were kind of had to look over your shoulder a little bit more because, there were people that were chirping behind your back. Just generally speaking as a culture. But it's that kind of stuff can be in any kind of a work environment.
Yeah,
But
that's like every office. True.
yeah, yeah. But I this particular culture that we have within LawTube is seriously the most supportive and the most friendly that I've seen in any kind of like working kind of situation involved with law.
Yeah. Do you feel like that the Rittenhouse trial put kind of all of you more on the map, or were there other like I'm trying to think of like other big trials that have
I mean, it
happened
was
recently?
for a lot of us, I mean, for everyone that spent any amount of time on those live streams for the Rekieta for the on Rekeita's channel for the Rittenhouse trial, everyone benefited massively. I mean, of course, Nick did. I mean, he went from like 150,000 subscribers to like 350 or something crazy. And then
Wow.
like, and all of us, like I started off.
How many more did you get from that?
So I started off at around like just under 6,000 subscribers and I ended up around 40. So that was a
And
huge
now
that was
you're
a
at
huge boost.
121.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Yeah, so it's been crazy. And oh, I see Rick super chat. We're not supposed to talk about the LawTube Club.
Uh-oh. It's like Fight Club. Hogla. You're coming on next, Hogla.
Yeah, Rick, by the way, is one of the nicest people you will ever meet. He's become like my second chair for this live stream. He's been with me every single day, almost from start to finish, except for when he has to duck out to actually do some real law for his
Oh,
his
real
firm because
law.
he runs his own firm.
Wow.
So and he's like the best hype man you'll ever have, and he's awesome. So anybody that is watching that has not subscribed to him, please subscribe to him because he is wonderful. And he talks a lot about gaming and corporate kind of stuff with laws and the gaming industry. So if anybody's interested in that, it's really
Wow.
great.
Seems very well rounded with his
Mm-hmm.
interests.
Oh yeah.
Troy Pacelli, I can't pronounce Italian, spent the whole day with Legal Bytes figuratively and followed her here.
Hey, welcome.
Imagine he's
Happy to
like,
have you over here now.
figuratively, I'm still here. I'm under her desk. Oh, in hot water. How much money for you to poop in a rich guy's bed? 500?
Never, 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 never.
Explain to me this poop gate situation.
Poopgate is such a weird thing, and this is the thing that I try not to judge the people that are involved in these lawsuits, but it's hard
Let's
not
judge them
to.
here. Judge
It's
them
it's
here. This is the space for judgment.
it's really hard not to. So apparently, so this is what happened in April 2016. Johnny was supposed to go to their penthouses that they were living at together in downtown LA. He was late to a dinner that was for Amber's birthday. Um, so he was very, very, very late. And so she was upset. And apparently,
How late?
like an hour and a half or something. But
Ah.
the reason why he was late was because he was at a meeting where he found out that he had been screwed out of, I think, several $100 million by his financial
Oh,
advisors. So it was
God.
a very serious reason to be an hour and a half late to your wife's birthday dinner.
And I'm sure, was
Um,
he not texting her, being like, I am
yeah,
running late. Here is why. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's not the
yeah.
80s. You're not like sit there going, I wonder where they are.
Yeah, exactly. And so then she was pretty upset about it. And apparently, and I guess, they had gotten into an argument. He left, she left after that to go to Coachella, but before she left for Coachella, um
Coachella.
she was with her friends, and there's a little bit of a gap, and we're filling in information. But on the other end of that gap is the housekeeper, who, unfortunately, these are the people that really get caught up in the middle here. The housekeeper was cleaning the penthouse, was going to make the bed or something, or clean the bedroom, found a large deuce in the bed. Or
So
as
Johnny wasn't even there. He wasn't even home for this.
He wasn't. He was gone. He was gone. And or as Johnny referred to it on the stand, he is like the craziest vernacular, and I love it. I love the way that he talks. It's so funny. But he referred to it as a grumpy. Um, that there was a grumpy in the bed.
Oh, I've never heard anyone say that. That's funny.
I've never heard of that before,
A
but
grumpy.
it's a Johnny thing. So he was out at his other residence because, of course, he's Johnny. He owns an island. He owns multiple residences. So he was at the the, I think, the Sweetser house is what he said. And so they were trying to figure out when was a good time to go and get his stuff, because he kind of had already decided by this point that it was going to be over and he wanted to get some things that were important to him. And they knew that she was going to Coachella. And so they were like, this is a perfect time to go and get it. And then one of his bodyguards said, now's not a good time. And he showed him a photo that the housekeeper had sent to him. And it's you can find it all over the internet. It's awful. It's disgusting.
I'm just Googling grumpy.
Or Poopgate. That's probably how you'll find Amber Heard Poopgate. You'll find the photo.
The poop that ruined their marriage.
So when he tried to talk to her about it a few days later, she tried to deflect apparently and said, it wasn't me, it was the dogs. They have multiple dogs, but the dogs are 4-pound teacup Yorkies. So,
I mean, unless they'd been storing that one up for a while. Yeah, it seems unlikely.
I have a doggo here with me. I pick up poop on a daily basis, and I can tell you there's a different size between my 50 or 60-pound dog's poop and the cat's poop that I scoop out of the kitty litter. It looks different. It looks very different.
On the bed. Was this like a surprise for him to find? Like, obviously they have housekeepers there that are constantly making the bed and cleaning up. Like, what was she thinking? That he would just dive back in?
I don't know.
The poop?
I don't know, but it was supposed to be either a prank or some kind of retaliation. Yeah, look at those guys. They're too little. They're way too little. There's a certain circumference that stuff comes out of.
They put in a cage as like bad girls. Oh my God. Pistol and Boo. They're like, it wasn't us.
I know.
God damn it.
Bring them to the stand. We need their testimony. we need them to clear their names.
Oh no. Did you guys make a lot of deposition puns, or does that not apply?
It has come up. It has come up in especially in the chat. We actually haven't so much on the panel, but we've been having a lot of fun with a lot of these memes. You know, there's Poopgate. Now there's also Muffin Gate that has come up during the trial.
Muffin Gate.
Yeah. Well, because it's and this is not so much between the parties, but this is one of Amber Heard's attorneys is she has an interesting style. I don't like it. It's a little bit too aggressive. And she also, the way that she asks questions is kind of loose in such a way that when she's questioning an adverse witness, she doesn't retain enough control just because of the way that she asks these questions. And then she gets very frustrated and then things kind of fall off the wagon. And then she tries to kind of like Hulk smash a witness into submission with a bunch of questions, but it doesn't work out. But she asked this one expert witness about she tried to pin this expert witness into basically saying that she was revealing confidences about the fact that she was going to be analyzing Amber Heard to analyze her psychology. And she was trying to make it look like she was professionally irresponsible in this by talking about it to her husband, and then the husband telling Amber Heard about how excited his wife was to meet her or whatever. But she gave her this opportunity to explain, no, I have this, whole office with employees. When we have a high profile person coming in, it happens from time to time. We have a policy where we clear everybody out so that we can give them privacy. My husband knows what our policy is for that. He understood that the whole office was cleared. He understood there was a high profile person. I asked him to get muffins, as I always do for these kind of high profile, people that are coming in, and he brought them in. So we had some muffins with it. So it was just this whole thing about like Muffin Gate, because this attorney
detail of the muffins.
Yes, because it was like this attorney was like so focused on these muffins that she was like being somehow improper with these muffins. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Style. How many different kinds of styles are there? I mean, you mentioned like she had kind of a bad style or an aggressive style.
So, I mean, you can be a bit more laid back, in the way that you talk to people. You can be a bit more like soft and empathetic, and then you can be like a bulldog type, that's just very, very aggressive. You can kind of see that between the two sides in this trial. Johnny Depp's attorneys are much more chill in the way that they've gone forward, so far anyway. Whereas Amber Heard's attorneys so far have been very aggressive. Like when they come into a cross-examination, they're like going in pretty hot.
They seem cunty is the word. Like I watched a lot of both sides and I'm like, this side is cunty, and the other side they're like laughing, joking, more relaxed. And it's like every time I watch the other side, I'm like, I feel like I did something wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's something that could be um it could be read one way or another because you've got well, number one, we are in Johnny's case in chief. So all of the witnesses that have been called so far to the stand have been called by Johnny's attorney. So they're friendly to his side. So, I do want to keep that in my brain as I'm looking at both of these sides. So, these and they're adverse witnesses to what Amber's attorneys are doing. Like they're adverse to her interests. So they're always going to be a little bit more, at the very least, assertive. But even still, like there's a way to do a cross examination that is not completely alienating and putting somebody off entirely. Like you can do it just by the way that you structure your questions and just not come across bitchy. Like you can be assertive without being bitchy. But yeah, it's been a bit of a thing with the two vibes from the two sides. And another part about that is that they're also trying to make subtle communications about the vibe on each side too. Like, Amber's trying to combat this. I would think she's trying to combat this idea that she is this aggressive and dramatic and exaggerative person, who's high and then low and then high and then low. Whereas on Johnny's side, he's also trying to combat that he's somehow an aggressor, an abuser. And the fact that his team so far has been looking pretty chill, pretty calm and cool and collected is good for him. I would think that she would want that for her as well. But of course, as a client is going to be, evaluating who their attorneys are going to be, you also want certain styles based on what kind of expectations you have for what a lawyer should be. She may say, I want a bulldog. I want somebody who's going to go in there and fight for me because that's what I deserve. At the same time, you can also have jurors who have certain expectations of lawyers because most people know lawyers based on what they see on TV. And so they may have, Matlock in mind, or they may have Suits in mind, or they may have, all these different like characters that you see, Legally Blonde, like they may have all these different
What?
characters
Like
in
it's
mind.
hard? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it could play one way or another, but for me personally, I don't like the level of aggression and attitudiness that's been coming from Amber's side, particularly their main female attorney. And maybe I'm just judging other women because women judge women, but
But
personally, I
women
don't.
also know women better. Like when I look at this, and someone in the chat mentioned this earlier, that they've learned so much about toxic relationships watching the trial. I'm like, yes, men can physically beat a woman 9 times out of 10, are stronger, can do more physical damage, but like some women do have a talent for like mental and emotional manipulation and can
Oh yeah.
really damage you way more that way.
Yeah, I mean, without doing you getting into too broad of brushstrokes, there's generally speaking, men and women, on average, I would say, conduct violence in different ways. Men might have physical aggression. Women are more socially violent, if that makes sense, through
Socially violent. That's
manipulation.
a t-shirt right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Socially
Because it's
violent.
like it's women are like, I won't necessarily, physically break your body, but I will break your life if I can. If it really comes down to it, women are absolutely capable of that, which is almost more destructive in a lot of ways. Not to say that women can't be physically violent. We have seen that in this case as an example. And not to say that
Yeah.
men also can't ruin the lives of women. They can definitely do that. There's examples of that, like revenge porn and all kinds of terrible things that men
Yeah.
can do too.
And that
So,
feels like
but
a more female way to go about it. Whereas, like, yeah, Amber Heard is clearly hitting him, which seems like a more like male way to go about it. And even like I was listening to a bit of a recording, I think it was of Amber saying like, yeah, I'm hitting you, but like, stop being a bitch about it, or like, suck it up already. And I was like, and then I heard someone say that the two of them have recorded a lot of interactions between each other, and I'm like, they've only
yeah.
been together what, like a year and a half. Like, do you find it weird that they have recorded so much of each other?
I mean, talking to some divorce lawyers, it's actually relatively common for, when things start hitting the fan, for the two sides to start surreptitiously recording one another. I don't know how that works in a state that requires both parties to consent. Um, Virginia, as an example, is a one party consent rule. So the person who's recording is consenting and they're allowed to record it. California, on the other hand, requires both parties to consent to a secret recording. So it's been an interesting twist in this case because they're both California residents, and all of these recordings, or many of these recordings, I should say, have occurred in California. So usually, I would not expect for something like that to come into trial because of evidence rules related to the fact that it's a one or a two-party state. But it looks like both sides have just agreed to let all of this stuff in. But it is crazy. It is a crazy amount of recordings that they do have in this case. But from what I know from divorce lawyers, apparently it's more common than you might think, unfortunately.
Wow, that's crazy. But you know what?
Yeah.
As soon as you notice someone is claiming things about you that you didn't do and is like gaslighting you, you're like, okay, I feel like I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to prove myself one day. Especially when there's like a lot of money involved. Right? They were
Yeah.
married, so
Yeah. Well, and that too, like the thing about Johnny recording these things was, that really kind of connected for me listening to his testimony when he said that when he decided to start recording her, because he said that he had so many of these experiences that it was just the two of them, and she would deny, 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 and basically gaslight him. And he literally was like, I just needed to know if I was imagining things or if this was real.
wow.
I needed to be able to put this in front of somebody else and ask them, am I imagining this or is this real? And that is true for anyone who's in an abusive relationship, I think, or maybe not everyone, but for so many people, you hear this as a common refrain that the abused also get gaslit by the abusers. Um, and I think for someone in his circumstance, it's especially so because he has such a strange life. Like as soon he described how his life changed after Pirates of the Caribbean 1 came out, how he suddenly became this like superstar. He needed a whole team of security guards now. It was like a whole special mission to take the kids to the park. It was like, going out is like a whole strategic affair as opposed to just going down to the diner and being a normal human being. So I can imagine that for someone like him, his reality is so different that it's not what a normal person would have, and it's not even what he had ever had before that point. So I could totally see someone being in that situation and questioning everything about the reality, and then being in a relationship with someone who's also gaslighting them, questioning their reality. Like, it's so many reasons to record and just try to get an objective idea on what's going on there.
Yeah, at least you're like, okay, I guess I'll listen to this later because I feel like everything I say is I totally know that feeling of like, your reality is not real because
Hmm.
the other person has to be right all the time.
Yeah.
From Britt Cormier, LB, how about that testimony from CPA today that said the 15-month marriage cost Depp 14 million to settle after taxes?
Yeah. Yes, it's
Woo!
it's it's crazy. And that's just that settlement. Never mind this litigation. I mean, the legal fees in this case, I have to be in the multi-millions for each party as well. Because we're talking about hundreds of dollars per attorney on this case, multiple attorneys. Like, just looking in the courtroom, both of them have like what, like six attorneys on each side, plus however many attorneys are in the background that you don't see, that are helping to coordinate witnesses and helping to do transcript stuff and helping to do all kinds of other stuff, and then paralegals and assistants, and then there's all kinds of fees associated with being in court. And that's just trial. That's just trial. That's not even any of the filings that they had to do over the years, all of the fights that they had to have over evidence. And there were a lot of fights in this case, more than I've seen in really any other litigation that I've really looked at closely.
Fighting over evidence?
Yeah, over so when you get into a certain stage of a lawsuit, at the very beginning you have what's called like the pleading stage, when one person files a
Please don't
complaint.
sue me, please.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, exactly. Like, it's you've got one person files a complaint, the other person either tries to dismiss it, or then they just file an answer, and then basically it's like you're locked in. You've got a lawsuit. Then you have what's called the discovery phase, where the two sides are exchanging evidence from one another. They're asking all kinds of questions. They're asking for documents. They're setting up depositions to talk to people, and there's just it's a very expansive kind of process, because it's a very broad process. You're able to exchange a lot of information. And so obviously, if you are trying to protect certain things, you're going to try to fight in various ways to say, like, no, you're entitled to this information, but not this information. This is related to the case. This is not related to the case. So you're going to have that kind of like negotiation in any lawsuit. But there's also something that you can do when you get to an impasse with the other side, which is to file what's called a motion to compel. You're asking the court to force the other side to give me the information that I'm entitled to. It's pretty rare to get to a point where you actually have to file a motion, because judges don't like getting involved in this process. They don't like they don't like getting stuck in the weeds. So you have to like really be sure that you're right in order to file a motion to compel. In this case, I lost track of how many motions to compel there were, because they just were fighting over like pretty much
Whoa.
everything, it seems, all the way up until the end.
Couldn't you keep something from, right? I mean, like, couldn't you save a text message, or like, I don't know. Couldn't you keep something from the other side? Like, or are they going to go in and be like, give me your phone, or like, give me your
It
computer?
it depends, which is a very lawyerly answer. But it really depends on the circumstances, because it's like, first there's a question of, are they entitled to that information? And in order to get to that, it's, is that information that they want, is that something that is, either something that would be admissible or would lead to information that would be admissible as evidence in court. So like I said, it's very, very broad. So if you have, I've done a lot of employment litigation as an example. So when you have somebody that has been, fired from their job, and they're saying it's race discrimination, or disability discrimination. There's quite a bit of that in California. You can say, you make your claims and say, I was fired because of XYZ. These are my damages. I'm entitled to this amount of money. So as part of the damages, you have to show that you've been financially harmed, which means they're allowed to look into all of your financial records. They can look into your tax returns. They can look into, what kind of work you've been doing. And so you have to turn that over to the other side. Now, the question of like whether you can keep that from the other side, any lawyer that is involved in the litigation is going to say, don't hide anything. Dear God, don't hide anything, because if something ever slips up and something ever happens, you're going to be in a world of hurt and pain and trouble. And also I might be as well.
Oh,
um,
okay.
so it's generally not advisable, but when it comes to, photos and text messages that are on someone's phone, you can also request access to the phone itself. So,
Whoa.
depending on the case, and that was what happened in this case too. They were because there's a lot of digital evidence coming from Amber's phone that is at issue, and the authenticity of certain photos of supposed injuries are at issue as well. There was the Johnny Depp's team wanted to analyze the metadata of a lot of these photos and text messages and stuff, to analyze, like, was this photo of her supposedly with a bruise, was it taken, several days after, or was it taken 2 years later? We don't know.
Wow.
We have no idea. Was this image, touched up in different ways? Was it,
Oh.
did you mess around with this photo? So in order to do that, a lot of times they'll require access to the phone itself.
You're saying it's possible someone could like enhance bruises, or like make more bruises on a photo and be like, submit. That's
Someone could
crazy.
someone could
Yeah.
try, which is terrible. It's super dirty. And it's, it's a huge lie, but people try all kinds of things
It's
in
true.
lawsuits.
You could add makeup to yourself. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
it's crazy. From honest mistake. This podcast has great teeth, hugs, and medium torque kisses.
Aw.
I hope that's a compliment.
We'll go with a compliment.
Adam Wooford, that movie single white female. I'm sure they meant to write single white
Hmm.
female. The crazy girl did that to her roommate and cheated with her roommate's boyfriend and then killed him and tried to kill her.
Whoa.
Whoa. I didn't
Yeah.
see that movie,
I
but I've
didn't
heard
either, but people have been referencing it in my chat. So there's probably some parallels between that story and what's going on in this case.
it's a must watch. Crash Mondo, just some simp dollars for the wonderful
Aw.
Legal Bites. Legal Bites, you have to do Simpcast one day. If
Ooh,
you're around on a Sunday. No
yeah,
pressure.
sure. I would
We'll
love
talk
to.
about
I would love to.
okay, cool. For crying out loud, followed Elite here from LB. Great podcast so far. Man, they
Aw,
sent
thank
that
you.
20 minutes ago, so maybe their feelings have changed by now. Mad 8. I pass out Legal Bites channel to people that like their hot sauce mild. Rekieta Law for people that need a little more spice.
Exactly. See, we've got some different flavors, and that's one of the beauties of the diversity of LawTube too. Is that there are some people who maybe you want to listen while they're at work, and the kind of humor that we've got on my channel is much more mild than you'll find on Rekeita's channel. He's ridiculously entertaining, and I could never try to be Nick, but yeah, I mean it's if you want like a wild time, go to Nick's channel for sure.
Wild time. If you need safer work, watch Legal Bites.
Yeah, exactly.
John Everall, can I get in trouble for stalking Legal Bites on YouTube? This sounds like a legal question.
No, I don't think so. I think you're allowed. It's all public.
He seems fine. He's in this picture with the kid. I'm sure he's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Crash Mondo Elite. Any advice for studying for the LSAT? Wow, a serious question. Also, any pointers in paying for law school outside of exorbitant loans? OnlyFans
um
would be my suggestion.
I know that's what everybody kind of thinks of first, right? Advice for studying for the LSAT, I would say I did a prep course, and it was extremely helpful. Do a lot of practice tests, and also don't overburden yourself. I took the LSAT twice. The first time I did not do particularly well. It was also in the middle of my last finals week of undergrad when I was like trying to go for a for straight A's. So it was a little bit too much to handle all at once. But then the next time I had a completely cleared schedule and I did way, way, way better. So I would recommend that be kind to yourself in the process and just kind of take it as it goes, but maybe use a prep course.
I
So
guess
and then
I would
for
imagine, yeah, a
oh
lot of
oh
sleep and a lot of hard-boiled eggs. That's my
yeah, yeah.
that's what I did when I studied for tests. Just eating
Yeah.
eggs.
There you go. And then for paying for law school outside of exorbitant loans, I mean, you could. So here, one of the great benefits of getting a really good LSAT score too is that you can also get a scholarship at a school that is maybe slightly lower ranked in the rankings. People put a lot of value in the U.S. News and World Report rankings for law schools, but you could go, 10 tiers down or 15 tiers down from a top tier school and find a fantastic school that maybe if you can qualify to get into these top schools, you might be able to get some scholarships at one of these other schools. It's still totally worth going to. That can really cut down on your student loans.
Oh, wow. What a thorough answer.
Thank you.
I actually met that guy in Tampa.
Oh,
Crash
nice.
Mondo. Good times. He came to a show. NM Elite, don't forget that the chauffeur just today confirmed that AH bragged about leaving a gift on his bed before leaving for Coachella.
That's right. That's right. He knew
Oof.
about the grumpy too.
Yeah, it's imagine like you just have the dog and you just squeeze the dog until a poop comes out. I doubt it. I doubt that's what happened. You
Yeah.
lost me at Coachella. You're like, you know what? Someone who goes to Coachella, I already don't like him. Done. It's over for me. My mind is made up. T Dog Legal Bites. Are you still practicing?
So I do contract work, which I can really kind of manage on the side. I basically told them for the next however many weeks, I don't expect any work from me. But otherwise, it's a nice way to sort of keep my some of my skills up on a lot of this stuff. But I am living overseas. I don't ever like to.
Where? Don't
Well,
dox yourself.
Europe-ish, I'll say.
Okay.
Europe-ish.
Fancy.
That's yeah. Because it's like, we've moved overseas, in connection with my husband's work. So I don't like to dox his
Ooh,
work. But
fancy.
I know. So because of that though, it's this gives me a lot of flexibility in being able to do some contract work. I sometimes miss litigation. There are some parts of it that I do really legitimately miss, but there's a lot of stress involved in it too. So
Dumb question. Is litigation like what we're watching now, like a live trial?
Yes. Yeah. So when I say litigation, I'm referring to, generally speaking, in law, there's like two main areas. There's going to be transactional and litigation. Transactional is like, that's what Hogue Law does. He does a lot of like contracts and negotiations and that kind of stuff. Litigation is where something has gone wrong and the parties are fighting about it, and you have to like find a winner, or end up in a settlement is usually more likely.
Wow. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I have a question. Like what do you think's going to happen to, I'm sure there's a lot of people suing their employers right now for them getting fired for like not taking the vax, or they had a religious exemption or medical exemption that was rejected. What do you think is the likelihood that those people will be successful? Do you see that as like a long journey ahead? Do you like, is it too early to
Yeah.
call on that?
I mean, it's definitely a gray area. But it's complicated because of the fact that there have been a lot of different mandates that have come and gone, and a lot of different, like in order to get the vaccine made, there was a lot of liability protection that was put up for not just for the pharmaceutical companies, but also for these employers too. I remember looking at specifically sort of the hard and the rock, the rock and the hard place, I should say, that these employers were stuck with in the beginning, especially because they were like, look, number one, we can't engage in potentially disability discrimination, because there are some people that may not be able to get the vaccine because of a disability that they have. That could be perfectly legitimate, but at the same time, these employers also have a burden to do what they can to create a healthy and safe work environment, because there's all kinds of OSHA restrictions. So, in terms of like these people that are suing their employers, I mean, I'm glad that those aren't my cases, is what I can say, because I don't know how successful they'll be. I haven't looked very closely recently at those kind of claims, but it's definitely a gray area, not an immediate home run, I would say.
Because ultimately it can get just come down to like that's what this company wants to do with their office building, and like, you never, most people don't have a like contracted out, like, yes, I mean, you can always be fired at any time for anything. It just seems like, oh god, this particular thing seems like very unfair.
Yeah, I mean, and I get it. I mean, there are a lot of people that have their reservations about it, for all kinds of reasons, and it's some of the discourse that has come about around it has been unfortunate, because thinking about it from the perspective of somebody who is particularly hesitant to get it, somebody may have started hesitant and then become very, I don't want to say obdurate, but like, they dig their heels in the more that they feel like they're being forced to do
Yeah.
something. Like, psychologically speaking, like, it just, as a policy matter, that's not the smartest way to go about it, in my opinion. But you also are dealing with an institution that is the government, that is used to being in an authority position, knowing what they're doing. Like, we trust the government. The government does what it does. It's been doing what it's been doing for a long time, and yet this is a completely new kind of world situation that no one knew what was happening. No one knew what was going on. I guarantee you, no one in Congress or in the White House for either administration really knew what was going to happen. And everybody was kind of like flying by the seat of their pants. So it's hard to like take authority and wield
Yeah.
authority without being a little too hard. It's weird. It's weird. It's been a very weird few years.
That is definitely an understatement for sure. Diana G. AH copied Dr. Curry hairstyle today.
That's what people were saying, because Dr. Curry had a little bit of a messy bun kind of look, and that's a bit what Amber had today. So she has a tendency to maybe copy someone in the room, depending on who's
Yeah.
been in there.
Oh my god. Look at this. Yeah, this is the messy bun. The
Hmm.
like the literally I woke up late and I
Yeah,
ran here. That's the look here.
yeah,
Which I would prefer that over like the, Princess Leia buns or
yes,
whatever.
yeah.
Fancy
Well,
Helga braids.
yeah, and the
Hmm.
first time that we actually saw or I guess the second time, because the first time we saw braids was when she was Dr. Elsa Schneider. But the next day she had the braids and then she was wearing all black, and I was like, she looks like Darth Leia. It was just like it was like so severe and so strong. And that's the thing too, is that like I was really questioning what their strategy was overall because of her clothing choices. Because it's like, you know, when you're filing a lawsuit, it's like what is our theme going to be? What is, you know, what is this really all about? And I understand that like from her perspective, she wants to consider herself a Me Too warrior. She wants to be, you know, this strong feminist. She's got a lot of photos all over her social media of like her standing in front of either, you know, Congress or the Supreme Court or something, you know, with her fist raised and wearing all black and like, yeah, yas woman,
Or
you
in
know.
front of a Planned Parenthood, like,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
You know, like with that, she wants to be this, you know, strong female feminist, you know, that's a representative of the movement or whatever. But it's like for this kind of a case, that's not what's at issue. What's at issue is whether or not, whether you are the aggressor, whether he is the aggressor. These are all questions that are coming out that the jury is looking at. And if you're coming out looking like a warrior that's very severe and strong and cold, that's not going to play very well to this question. And when he's saying you chopped off part of his finger by throwing vodka bottles at him.
Is that for real?
Yeah.
He's like, where did they find the part of the finger?
Somewhere in the rubble. This happened. This is the Australia incident. She
I'm
maintains that
so
he,
behind.
yeah. So and the thing is, it's kind of messy because what he told the ER doctor was that he cut it himself with a knife. And when what he explained was like, I didn't want to get her into trouble, which is what a lot of people who are abused will say. Like they
Yeah.
instinctively want to protect their abuser because they understand that they will have repercussions and they love this person. And then also on another level, like this person could then come and abuse them even more for speaking out against them. So, you know, there's a lot that goes on in this kind of psychology. But like, you know, it is problematic for a lawsuit when you have he told somebody one thing and then he told another person another thing.
Mm.
But the way in which his finger was like, you know, lopped off in one respect, is a bit more consistent with like a jagged, you know, metal shard, like debris came in and took it off rather than a clean knife cut. But what she
Whoa.
says happened apparently was that he in his own rage became this like drunken high monster and like ripped a phone off the wall and like slammed it on the counter or something like that. It was some kind of a smash injury or crush injury is what she alleges, that he did it to himself. And, you know, he was just like so out of it that he didn't even know.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Interesting. People in the chat are talking about the butler. That the butler was awesome and the butler
Yes.
gave it. What
Yeah.
happened with
The butler,
them?
the butler was great. So he was the one that actually found the fingertip in
Oh
the
no.
bar area.
Did he put
Because
it
they
on
had,
ice?
yeah, yes, he literally put it in an ice baggie, gave it to the guys to take to the hospital. I think they ended up reconnecting it because it looks like he's just got like a scar or whatever. He still has the his fingertip. Um, but it's yeah, he had some really great testimony because he really just like as soon as he got on and he said that he was their, you know, essentially their butler, essentially, or essentially their like, you know, his personal manager or house manager is what he would do. You know, he would manage the entire house. Everyone's like, oh, so he's Alfred. He's Alfred to his John Wayne,
Yeah.
or to his you know, Mr. Wayne. So, but he was great because he was very level headed. He came across very sympathetic, very kind, very sweet. And that's another reason why being overly aggressive sometimes can really come back to haunt you when you're the lawyer that is cross-examining someone like that, because you just look like an asshole when you try to do that to a very sympathetic witness.
Right. I think if you're more calm and relaxed, you appear like the person like, well, I don't have anything to prove because I'm honest and I don't have to try hard because you know what I mean? It's like it
Yeah,
sends a lot of subconscious messages, I think.
yeah, it does, and especially because like, well, and you know, when the person that is testifying has been very calm and cool and collected, and you come in too hot and you're really pounding on them, you also give them some permission to swipe back at a certain point too. But if you are the
Mm.
person that's coming in and like if you put on a persona that basically is like, look, I'm not trying to be an asshole, but I have a job to do here, the jury is going to understand that. Like, they understand the lawyers over here are hired guns. The lawyers over here are hired guns. They're here to perform a certain role, to do a job. But it's just, if it feels like you're going above and beyond that, that can be a real turnoff sometimes.
Wow, it's almost like, and it's like you don't even have to be an asshole if you know the law and you're good at what you do and you're smooth. Like
Yeah.
it's not like in real life where you have to I have to stand up for myself. I have to stand up
Yeah.
straighter. Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the other trials that Nick live streamed on his channel was a police officer who pulled her. She thought she was pulling a taser and she pulled a gun instead, and so she ended up shooting this guy that was he was like 19 years old or something, basically a kid. And it was the Kim Potter lawsuit, Kim Potter trial, but the taser cop. The guy who died, his mom got on the stand, and it was a very, very emotional, direct examination. She was obviously crying, grieving mother. That's a very, very sympathetic witness to put in front of a bunch of objective people that don't know anything about this case except for the evidence that you're putting in front of them. And all of us were kind of sitting there like, okay, who's going to do the cross-examination now? Because you have to be very careful about this. Like, if you badger a grieving mother, that's going to look really, really, really bad. And so the attorney that came in and did the cross-examination, Earl Grey is his name. He did a fantastic
Like the
job.
tea?
Yes.
His name was Earl Grey?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
Branching out.
Yes, Mr. Earl Grey. He did a phenomenal job because he kept calm, he kept cool, and he just asked very factual questions just to say like, okay, well, you're suing the city, right? For the death of your son. Okay. Yeah. And that's for how much? Okay. For this amount. Okay. And then basically like getting to these bias issues, but just asking the questions. So like if you can do that without coming across as an asshole and be very effective in getting this information in front of the jury so that they're like, ooh, okay. I mean, yeah, you're crying. You're very emotional, but you also are maybe have some reasons to maybe fabricate a little bit.
Wow.
So, or expand or elaborate.
So delivery matters. There's some questions and comments about your dog in the chat, and I was like, wait a minute, what? I was like, that's a dog, and I'm like, oh yeah, it looks like he's trying to start his only pause back there. He's just like,
yeah, this is Indy, and she's the goodest girl.
Hello, oh my god, she's like, I've been waiting for a belly rub for 12 hours.
I know she's
so
my shadow. She's here for all of the live streams all the time.
Does she like to listen to you talk, and she'll just like hang out?
I guess so. I mean, she's when we originally adopted her, we kind of anticipated her being more of Mr. Bytes' dog, but because I'm the one that's always home.
Mr. Bytes. Oh,
yeah.
Bytes. He could just be called Bytes. That should be all the dogs' names.
Yeah. Well, we named her Indy after Indiana Jones, who was of course named after the dog. So it's we're coming for a full circle.
Oh wow, how meta. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. So yeah, she follows me everywhere because I ended up being the one that's like basically training her anyway.
Oh, how old is she?
She's about a year and a half now.
Oh, she's moving her foot. It's so cute. Oh my god. She's like, hi, I am lazy. I am waving slightly with my foot. From Beverly Alford, Elite is amazing. She's level-headed and fair. Do y'all think Elon Musk has major Amber regrets? By the way, you must cover the Daybell Vallow trial, Elite.
So this is the I think the third time today that somebody has mentioned this. Maybe it was you, Beverly. But the Daybell Vallow trial, I've heard. I don't know anything about this case other than the name, so I clearly need to look into it. But as far as Elon Musk having major Amber regrets, I probably. I can't imagine that he wouldn't, based on the things that we know and based on the things that we've heard. But I mean, he also apparently, we learned today that he donated $500,000 to the ACLU in her name when they were dating.
Wow.
So yeah. I mean, yeah, make of that what you will, but that was apparently supposed to be part of her obligation to the ACLU to pay from her divorce settlement. She publicly pledged to donate all $7 million that she got from Johnny for the divorce, to half to the ACLU and half to the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles. And it looks like she has not met her
Wow.
obligation to either one.
No way. So Elon donated like 500K of his own money, like under her name, so that he could like help chip away at what? Oh, it's like, well, don't publicly pledge it then if you're not going to do it.
And then she also at least twice publicly stated that she had paid all 7 million. So it's, and they're in evidence. I've seen the exhibit list. She went on a Dutch talk show and said that the divorce wasn't about the money. I already donated all of that settlement, where I said I was going to donate them. And then
Wow.
apparently in the UK trial, because there was a previous trial that was similar to this one, in the UK, but it was between Johnny Depp and the publishers for The Sun, for a very similar case. But she testified in there as a witness. She wasn't a party, but she testified as a witness. And I believe I haven't looked at the actual transcripts, but people have said all over the place in my chat and elsewhere, that she also said there that that she had already donated all the money.
And is that something that they can use to say, like, hey, she lied about donating all this money? Like, maybe we shouldn't believe her as far as this goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's someone's level of honesty is always at issue for any witness. That and their perception, right? Like if you've seen My Cousin Vinny, there's that famous scene where the little old lady walks in, with her glasses, and says, that she had seen the defendant, that he was the one that shot the guy. He was the one that did it. And then he asked if she had been wearing her glasses that day. She said that she hadn't. He asked her to take it off, and then he walked however many feet away that she said that she was, and then holds up his finger and says, how many fingers am I holding up? And she's like, I don't know. So yeah,
Wow.
perception and honesty always at issue for all witnesses and the parties.
I heard somewhere that like Elon and Amber had a threesome with somebody, and I was like, ooh, that's the first time I heard of him being involved.
That's alleged. I don't know if there's any evidence to that, but I know that that's a rumor at the very least. There's also a rumor about, so Amber announced a year ago, that she now had a baby through a surrogate. So it was, found that out through social media. There's a lot of questions about who provided the other half of the genes for that surrogate. And a lot of people suspect that was maybe Elon Musk. I don't know if there's any truth to that or not, but that's another one of those like rumors about Elon related to this case.
She's like, yeah, give me that Tesla baby. Why not?
Yeah, seriously.
Get that space sperm out of here. Wow, Daybell and Vallow. I quickly looked it up. It's just regular people, not famous people. Looks boring to me.
I've but I people did say though that the facts of the case are pretty crazy. So I still want to look into it.
Why would Elon have Amber regrets? Like, were they? I mean,
having been in a relationship with her,
oh, okay, still likes her.
Or maybe regretting having gotten entangled in it in the
Oh,
first place,
okay.
because everybody's talking about Elon in this case. Is he going to testify? Is he not? Quick answer on that: no, he's not going to. I mean, it's been reported that he and James Franco were expected to maybe testify. They're not going to. But Elon Musk in particular, I figured a while ago that he wasn't going to, because of the fact that, well, when you're testifying as a witness, generally speaking, especially in civil litigation, you have to sit for a deposition, or at least both of the parties want you to sit for a deposition first. And in order to sit for a deposition, or in order to pull in a random person that's not one of the parties for a deposition, you have to serve them with a subpoena. And so you have to have proper service of that. He's never been served. He's somehow managed to avoid that in one way or another. So he's never been deposed, which means there was no way that he was going to end up coming into trial as well, because one of the parties was going to object to it, probably Amber's side, honestly.
Ooh, okay, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was told to look up the Elon Amber elevator video, but all I see are stills.
Yeah, so there's also, I mean, the way that they sort of factor into this particular case is, one of the ways to define abuse in Virginia is emotional abuse related to like if the abuser is making unfounded accusations of infidelity, like that in combination with other stuff. And so there is evidence in this trial so far that Johnny was making accusations about accusations about Amber being not exactly true to their relationship.
Wow.
So the question is, are these unfounded, or is there reason for him to believe that? And so there is some elevator footage showing Amber and Elon during the marriage in the elevator together, with her bringing him up to the penthouse. And same thing with James Franco. Yeah, see, that looks like Amber.
Ooh.
This is going from the penthouse. Those stripes are the penthouse floor, the striped carpeting. And then you'll see a different kind of carpeting down for the lobby. So, I mean, the thing about it is,
Wow.
like,
The elevator's always watching.
yeah, it's if you know, like, she had to know that this was gonna get recorded.
So she went from the penthouse to down here. So they're saying that she went from Elon's place to
The penthouse is actually Johnny's penthouse where they were living. Well, he had a series of penthouses. It was like 1 through 4 or something, or 2 through 5. I don't know. Anyway, he had like 4 or 5. Yes. Yeah, basically. But this was like when he was out, he was away because he just didn't want to be. This was May 22nd. Okay, yes. This is the James Franco video. People are saying in the chat, and the date suggests that, yeah, this is James Franco.
So she went to pick him up. He is wearing some sort of veteran hat. Stolen valor, I think, is happening. I served in Vietnam. It's not James Franco.
Yeah, it kind of looks like it, right? So it's like, yeah, I mean, you don't really see too much except for like it, you know, he starts to, yeah, you see him cozy up, and then he's got his head on her shoulder, and they kind of, you know, and like, I don't know, maybe being very charitable could be friends.
Tired. He could be so tired.
Yeah, but he's got a backpack, looks like an overnight bag, maybe.
Looks like a hoe bag to me.
So
we pay cash for videos.
Interesting. So this is, by the way, so this is May 22nd, 2016. This is the day after one of the big incidents that Amber alleges against Johnny. This is like the final one before the 27th is when she filed for divorce and a domestic violence restraining order.
Damn.
So it's like,
so she was over it. She was on to the next one.
Yeah, so that footage is interesting, or at least James Franco's testimony would have been interesting for 2 reasons. Number one, either to show that, oh yeah, there's she's getting cozy with Elon there. You can see that in the still.
Man, if this elevator could talk.
Yeah, I know, right?
Wow.
Yep, there's a nice little hug there. A friendly hug, right? Perfectly platonic.
You know, maybe maybe they're like, well, you know, let's leave some space in the elevator in case someone else wants to come in.
Yeah, exactly. But so the other reason, you know, besides the potential infidelity issue, it would have been very interesting to hear from James Franco, because of the fact that Amber alleges that she was violently attacked by Johnny Depp on May 21st, the day before that footage, where it's like she's talking about him pulling her by her scalp into one room, and then another room, and then another room, and, you know, and like giving her black eyes and bruises and all this kind of stuff. So hearing from James Franco would have been very interesting to say, did you see any marks on her face? Did you see any bruises? Did you see anything?
Yeah, if I got like kind of beat up by a boyfriend, I wouldn't be like ready to have some like random dick the next day. I'd be like, let me take a day to chill. Let me take a bath. You know, I'll listen to some music. I'll recoup.
Yeah, I mean, it's and especially because it's like, I've seen people putting up photos of like Rihanna after she was beaten up by Chris Brown. The photos that she had of you know, of that incident are way far and away different from what Amber has in terms of her photos. And and I don't remember exactly what the allegations were for Rihanna's, but like the level of violence that was alleged sounds about similar. And so it's just, you have very radically different images of what they looked like. I mean, her face was like completely swollen up, like her eyes like were just almost swollen shut, essentially. So
Oh, yeah.
it's a very, very different image, and very much not what Amber is showing in her photos.
So it doesn't look strong enough. From Core, Chrissy, your turn to try a tongue twister from Elite's stream yesterday. How many turds could Amber Turd herd if Amber Turd could herd turds?
You did a lot better at it than I did.
I've been practicing. Matthew Hammond, will we see Elon Musk on the stand? Erdry answer this, as he was in a relationship with Amber to have the ultimate crossover event.
It would have been epic. It really would have been. I was kind of hoping that would be able to somehow happen, but at this point, it's not going to happen.
It would have been funny if like Amber was on like one of those first like seats, like missions into space that he did, and it'd be like, I guess she knew to stay away from that. Mad 8. You missed my super chat. Next time you do a show in Dallas, I'm gonna hire Stuttering John to open for you. Oh, and then I take it back. You didn't get there yet. As an apology, I'll hire Stuttering John to open for you. Aw.
That's funny.
Inside joke. Uber Geek, please say Elon Musk will take the stand. Oh.
Sorry. Not going to happen.
He's working on Twitter right now. Half Irish Legal Bytes, thoughts on today's allegations that he tried to strangle her on a train?
Yeah, I haven't seen anything that would convince me that he did. So
okay.
That's basically it.
Okay, cool. T Mellow LB, I pledge €5 to you. What is that? Pounds? What the hell? Through
Euros,
through Chrissie, so she pays taxes. Quote, donated to you. Question. But did you know if AH was wearing any Amica cream? Love you for Cupcake Husband.
Oh, Muffin. There's no Muffin emoji,
so
people
Muffin,
are using
of
cupcakes.
Of course.
Yeah, and the Amica cream is another meme that came up early on in this lawsuit because so one of the early witnesses for Johnny Depp, he was like Johnny Depp's like really good friend since high school. He is a vibe on his own. I desperately would love to have him on my channel to interview him after everything is said and done, because he is like nuts. But he's fantastic. His testimony was very, very convincing, very sympathetic. His name is Isaac Bruch, but when he was being cross-examined by Amber's female attorney, remember I said on cross-examinations, she's particularly not very good because they tend to fall apart, her questions, for whatever reason. So she started to she went into when he saw Amber the day after, the same day that James Franco was in that elevator. Isaac also saw Amber. And so there was this incident that happened the day before. She alleges that she was brutally beaten up. So he testified. He's like, I didn't see any marks on her face. I didn't see any marks on her body. I saw nothing. Yes, this was him. He was a whole vibe.
I thought this was Billy Joel. Okay.
No. He is a total delight.
The lighting was great. Did you see any marks on Miss Heard's face at that time? No, same thing like the day before. There's no redness. There's no swelling. There's no bruises. There's no cuts. There's no
Elsa Schneider.
She looks like like a Nazi era hottie.
Yeah, Dr. Elsa Schneider.
Yes, of course.
What did Miss Heard say to you during that encounter? She was knocking on my door, lighting from.
Oh my God, is he Long Island? Definitely.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, he is a total delight.
Spirit animal.
Oh, absolutely. So she got into the attorney that was cross-examining him got into questioning him about, like, do you know if he was wearing any makeup? And he was like, no, I don't think she was. And she was like, well, do you know if she was wearing any foundation or concealer or whatever, going into a bunch of different kinds of makeup. And then she said, do you know if she was wearing any Amica cream? And he was like, what? I don't know what that is. Like, no, I don't know. And so she kept kind of like pounding this term, Amica cream. And for me personally, I was like, I've never heard of this. I don't know
I've
what the
heard of
significance of this.
arnica. I've heard of arnica cream.
I hadn't heard of arnica cream, but I started to see it in the chat where people were like, it's
Arnica gel,
arnica, arnica. There's a pill and there's a gel or a cream. So, but people in the chat were like, it's arnica cream. And so I literally was like, okay, so I'm not mishearing it. She's saying amica, right? But people are saying it's arnica. I'm not sure
Oh
what this
my
is. I've got to do a
God.
little bit of research. And one of my really good friends, I saw her that evening actually, because she happened to be in town and we got together for dinner. And she was like, yeah, this is something that is pretty common in like, like procedures. You can get, if you're going to get something done to your face, like cosmetically, you can take arnica pills, like starting a week before. Like that's usually what they recommend is just take it a week before so that you can reduce some bruising and whatnot. But like you have to take it starting a week before or else it won't work. In terms of the gel, like you can slather it on, but it's not a miracle worker. Like
No.
it's like, she told me about a friend of hers that she went to a friend's wedding, and another friend was like, they were like, going together as like, not like girlfriends, but whatever, it doesn't matter. But like, her friend had just had work done on like right under her eyes or something. And she had massive bruising. She was like, really trying really hard every single day to put as much arnica gel as she could on there. And she was like, she still looks terrible. So she like explained this to me, like, about this arnica cream. But I think that what happened was this attorney was probably just looking at her notes, saw the R and the N, and that can kind of mesh together into an M when you're far away enough. But she just kept saying amica cream, amica cream, amica cream. So now in my brain, it's amica cream, even though it actually is arnica. But anyhow, that's the explanation of that meme.
Wow, it's amica. Wow.
So, and she likes to, this attorney also likes to ask this question about like, did you know if she was wearing any makeup that day? And so like,
only women and gays can tell that, barely.
Yeah. So it's been coming up a lot in the streams.
Wow, that's fun. Regarding EM rumors of AH's baby, Elon Musk rumors of Amber Heard's baby, could she sue him for paternity even if born through a surrogate?
I don't know. I don't know enough about surrogacy laws or those kind of like family laws to know one way or another. But I'm getting hi.
Oh my God.
Hi.
Oh, look at the poopers.
Hey puppy.
Look at it. Hi. Oh, she's a good girl. Oh, no. I could just do this. Oh my God. He's like, Mom, are you almost done?
Yeah, she probably has to pee or something. That's usually what happens when she's, which is, I still have time though. I have time though.
We can wrap it up soonish. I have another thing too.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, you were saying paternity.
Yeah.
Law.
I don't know. I don't know enough. I have heard of a case. I don't even remember what state it was in. I feel like this would depend on the state too, but I have heard of a case where there was a I think it was a lesbian couple that had a surrogacy baby, and then they sued for paternity from the sperm donor and then won, which to me was just absolutely insane. There must be some kind of like I would think that there would be some kind of like waiver language that they would have to sign for that, because it's like somebody's donating their sperm. They're not like, no one would look at that situation and say that they would expect to be part of that child's life or what, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like an oopsie where like
I would
things
love
can
to
happen.
hear a very serious lawyer describe like, well, once the jizz has left the penis, it becomes communal property. Like, I don't know, like using some like fancy law words to describe that. I think that would be fun. Camille White. Lori and Chad killed their spouses. Her kids, zombies, believed they were immortal, called people they wanted to get rid of zombies, etc. Crazy.
Oh my God.
What?
That's crazy. That is nuts. Holy cow.
Was that referring to the other case that someone wanted to look into?
I think maybe. I don't know enough about I'm assuming so.
Okay.
That's crazy.
Sounds like meth is involved. I miss Windows 7. Oh, so do I. Question: any thoughts on how Heard's team will deal with the issue with the Milani compact?
So that's another
makeup snafu.
Yes, because that same female attorney, she held up a compact to the jury in their opening statement, basically saying this is the makeup that Amber used during their relationship to cover up her bruises. And then, of course, Milani came out and said that compact did not exist before 2017, and their marriage ended in 2016. So what is going on?
Ooh, they got fact checked.
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, the one thing that gives me pause is I wonder if they had a similar compact that is just maybe not that exact model, but something similar, that they could say like, well, okay, it wasn't exactly this one, but it's whatever their previous model was. But if not, then that's a serious issue because I mean, she's already represented to the jury that this is a promise that she made in the opening statement. You will hear about how this was the compact that she used. This was the makeup that she used.
Oh, hello. Oh, my goodness.
Hi.
Oh, hello,
Hi,
Pupper.
Pupper.
Indiana. Oh, my God. Muffin does that. I have my boyfriend's mom has a dog named Muffin, and she always like puts her paw like on your, like a person. She's like, hello.
Oh, very sweet.
Oh,
so how are they
thank
going to
you.
deal with it? They'll probably try to explain it away. Like what I just said is, if there's some kind of another like model that there was or something, or maybe try to sort of minimize the importance of the specific kind of makeup that they used. But it still is a hazard. It's a hazard because juries don't like feeling like they've been lied to by the attorneys.
And you better be damn sure when it comes to like mentioning a brand, like, and it doesn't even matter. Who even cares? Like, you use concealer to cover it up. I mean, like, who cares what brand it is?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Rob Morton, divorce attorneys, well represented. Team LB. Everyone, go follow all of LawTube.
Rob is hey Rob, what's up? Rob is actually he's a practicing litigator in Fairfax, Virginia, who reached out to me through Twitter when I was doing these live streams, and he was like, "Hey, if you ever want a local perspective, I can talk about a lot of this stuff. I've been in front of Judge Ascarate before. I know a lot of like the local stuff." And so I was like, "Hell yeah!" So he's been coming in and commenting as well and giving really really great commentary on this stuff to get like a local vibe on this case. So yeah.
Plus, he's cute.
Yeah.
It's a win-win.
Oh my God. Today was so funny. We basically had like the last half hour of testimony was like people were maybe paying attention to the testimony or maybe paying attention to Rob and Mike and Rick as well. But a lot of the super chats were coming in about wanting to date Rob and Mike, and it was really funny. It was hilarious. I was dying. There you go.
Oh my God. Yeah, it'd be like Bachelor like law version or something.
Yeah, I was like, we need to have a dating show, obviously. I'll host.
Yeah. He'll be like, I'm married, and we'll be like, nobody cares. It's still happening. Okay, I know we both kind of have to run. How do you think the jury feels right now? Overall thoughts, not lawyer thoughts, personal.
It's
very
hard.
Subjective thoughts.
It's hard to tell because the jury, so we've talked to some people that are in the courtroom, and they said that the jury probably had some instructions to not show how they were thinking or feeling about things because they've been pretty much stone-faced the entire time. You can kind of tell when they're paying attention or not paying attention. And that's maybe a little bit of a bellwether is when they see something that is a bit more important or less important. Because something that I like to say is that, it's like a tree falling in the woods. If there's no one there to hear it, it doesn't make a sound. If evidence comes out at trial and the jury's not paying attention, does it really get introduced? Like, is it really there for the jury? So that's a big deal. But I think that, basically, I think that looking at this from a human perspective, people have very good senses of things like justice, things like self-defense. And this is kind of one of those situations that I think that when we get to the end of this trial, we will probably see one party in particular that has been severely wronged by the other one. And juries don't like to walk away without giving some kind of amelioration to that kind of a situation, even if technically the law may not be very strong on that, but they want to do that. So I have a feeling we still haven't seen Amber Heard's evidence come in yet. She still has to put on her case in chief. We're only halfway there. But so far, there's been a lot that's been good that has been shown from Johnny's side. And I think that I have a feeling that this jury is going to be very sympathetic to his side.
So interesting. We'll have to
Yeah.
keep following you to see how this pans out. Last couple from Johannes Potter. What was up with the defense claiming JD exposed himself in the Australia incident?
I don't know. I think what they were trying to say is that he was so gone on drugs and alcohol that he didn't know what he was doing, and he was trying to pee in the foyer. But
Okay.
but
We've all
the
done that.
Yeah, I mean, it's his own home, right?
Yeah.
It's his house in Australia that he was renting.
If she can poop in the bed, he can pee in the foyer.
Yeah, but it's like, but it was one of those things that like the room laughed when he responded, no, he didn't. And then the attorney tried. It was like I almost felt bad for the attorney because he kind of sounded like, I have to ask this question because I'm being put up to it. Like if I don't, I'm gonna get in trouble. But like he's like, did he whip out his what to whatever? And they were like, objection, like come on, and he was like, no, there was none of that. So it was part of that may have been to embarrass or something, but looking at Johnny in the moment, he was kind of laughing too, that he was just like, what are you doing? Like, this is ridiculous. So,
oh my God, there's so many fun like sound bites and tidbits.
it's
Like
a
I
riot.
loved watching just the memes. Like I watched it on one of my other shows. We just watched, like, I think it's called on YouTube, like Johnny Depp court memes or something, and it's him just being like waiting for the guy to say, is this hearsay too? Are these the hearsay papers? Oh, which brings us to your merch site, which has hilarious shirts on it. Please go to legalbytes.creatorspring.com to get your I need a mega pint for this shirt yeeted, which is always fun.
Oh yeah.
And yes, I looked at the papers. Maybe they're hearsay papers, sweatshirt and mug.
Yeah. It's
great.
I'm gonna come out. I love the merch. No wait, meme merch. Oh my God, I can't
Meme
talk.
merch is good.
Meme merch. Yeah, I love the meme merch. It's just so much fun. I did it during the Rittenhouse trial with I've got some shirts still in there that say "Don't get brazen with me."
That's great.
Like that kind of stuff. There's some fun stuff in there, but I'm definitely going to be coming out with some more stuff too this weekend, because there are just so many great little tidbits here and there, memes that are getting passed around, and it's fun to have it on a shirt or a mug or whatever. So,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
fun. Be the funny person at your office, guys. Come on.
Exactly.
And finally, from Objection Hearsay, how long have you have to study in the U.S. to become a lawyer/judge for something like this?
So law school is 3 years, and that's after 4 years of undergraduate study. I mean, you can graduate from undergrad early, but generally speaking, for most people, it's going to be 7 years total. And then you have to study for a bar exam. Every state has their own exam, and there are different levels of difficulty. California and New York are considered probably the two hardest. And then other states are going to fall in between, I don't know, difficult and hard. I don't know, difficult or easy. Anyway, so there's that. All of that takes quite a bit of time. But to become a judge, you need to have a certain amount of experience before you either get appointed as a judge, usually by a state governor or by a an administration for a federal court position, or some are elected as well. You can get elected as a judge. But then for a lawyer, then you start practicing as soon as you pass the bar, and you're fully licensed. So,
okay. I hope that encouraged you, hearsay. Or if not, there's always OnlyFans. I don't know why I keep mentioning OnlyFans today.
Or YouTube.
Right, of course. Everybody follow Elite on Twitter at Legal Bytes Media and on YouTube at Legal Bytes Media. Is there anywhere else you want to point people to?
I'm also on Instagram and Facebook. Instagram is a bit more of a space than Facebook. Although I post all my stuff there too. I'm also on Locals and Patreon. Some people have been asking where to support me on that kind of stuff. So both of those are also available. And I think that's about it. I think, yeah, that should be it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on, especially after such a long day. Your stamina for this stuff is amazing.
Thank you.
Everybody keep watching the rest of her coverage. We have 3 more weeks of this trial.
Absolutely.
So
thank you so much for having me. This has been so much fun.
Oh God, it sounds short. It is a regular at least 3 years. Okay.
Oof.
Well, good luck with that. Sounds horrible. Thank you, Alita, for coming on. Thank you, and thank you for bringing your biters to the stream as well.
Yeah,
is that what
of
your fans are
course.
called?
We've been working on naming the community in the last couple of days, and I think that what we've settled on is the community name is Bytes Club, and everybody's they're all biters.
Oh,
Hang on, Pop.
oh my God, your dog is desperate to go out. Okay.
Well, I think she may have seen one of the cats too. So
Oh.
she's best friends with one cat, and the other cat is a little bit more antithetical. But but yeah.
Oh.
But
You should do
otherwise,
like stretchies for babies, like baby clothes. It says like ankle biter or something. All right, I'm thinking too much. All right, thank you, chat, for all your questions and comments. Until
course.
next time, bye.